Hello guys and welcome to our channel. This is PvE, and I was right. The Harbinger was the best, the Virtuoso was second, the Guardian was the worst. So I already told people in the video I released before the beta that Harbinger would be the best among them. It had every playstyle potential for every playstyle. You can play it for condition, you can play it for power, you can play it as a hybrid, you can play it with a focus on support or boon duration. And it's really good in competitive, it's great in PvE, it's good in everything it do. Things can be better maybe, but it already has the potential. Virtuoso, I believe, is still possible to play it for condition or power, but I didn't have enough time to look into it, and I'm gonna be telling you why. Guardian, however, I thought it barely had a potential for at least a power build that could be decent with some healing for PvE, but like I tested for 5 minutes and I didn't have, not only I didn't have more time, I didn't even have the patience. It was bad. The Guardian, I didn't like anything of it. It doesn't give you any value neither in damage or defense or healing. Like, it can move a lot, that's about it, and it is slow and sluggish. I didn't enjoy it at all. Honestly, like, it needs a lot of work. I like the idea of it, but every execution of it is bad. Which is not a bad thing. In it tried to make it not broken, to make sure it's not broken, but they ended up making the damages bad, and I think a lot of people not used to the concept or how to utilize it really good, but honestly I didn't enjoy it enough. So why didn't I have time? Let me tell you a little bit of how my beta time went. First of all, I had a problem with drivers in the game, and I had a problem with my internet, and in order to fix my drivers I had to reinstall a lot of programs and drivers and stuff, and ended up resetting a lot of my recording. And all this recording got deleted by accident, thinking they belong to another program because of the location. And after that, a problem happened, I think because of the beta or something, but the game kept shutting my internet down, giving me an extra ping, like my routers kept resetting, and giving me an error in the game, didn't even know it existed, like telling me the game is archived and I need to confirm that this file even exists. After a lot of work, and it crippled my hard drive and ended up corrupting all of my records, which I didn't even know that they were corrupted, and I had to re-record a lot of things and redo most of it. So it was awful kind, like 2 days of a lot of work and all mostly for nothing. So I'm not sure I will even have time to do anything for the Virtuoso, and I don't care to do anything for the Guardian, honestly. There's no way it's gonna be like that, and if it is like that, I'm not really interested that much about this class anyway. So let's start with this great best necro I have ever played, even with its downside, but just the good side are taken off. Now let's start immediately with the build. So my gear is full celestial. Everything, both my trinkets, my armor, everything is celestial. So I'm playing it kinda hybrid, but that count or condition better, because celestial giving me basically expertise as much as trailblazer, a little less condition damage, but I can get power, precision and stuff, and trigger traits like the bleed on critical chance, a lot of stuff like that, and a little bit of extra healing. So I found celestial to be really great with this, especially that I still have a lot of health also, which means a lot of life force and a huge health ball that can go down to the half. So, and the half is more than 50k, close to 16k. I am limited, like I said, by what they gave us. So I was using Rune of Traveler, so I get movement speed, but I don't really need it in PvE because I'm running Spectral Walk, so I already can have all the swiftness I need. But I'm running it anyway to push a little bit of that boon duration, condition duration. So my condition duration generally is 54%, but my bleed is obviously much more, I guess. It is extra 20% at least. And for the sigil, there is a lot of options, and most of them will just work, and you feel the damage doesn't really differ this much. So I was running Sigil of Bursting and Geomancy, and at some point I was running Tormenting, and probably when the EOD come and I actually do a build with whatever option I want, I would be running Sigil of Tormenting and Rune of Tormenting to make the healing broken, like to get it to insane amounts of healing as much as possible. And since the bleed is already the second best for us because the increased duration, I would probably run the other sigil, which I already ran in some of the footage probably that you're gonna see, bleeding on critical, so sigil of earth. So I'd probably run torment and earth, but for now I was running bursting and geomancy in both weapon sets. I didn't try to scepter since we didn't get scepter on those weapons, and it's only like now I know we can access the bank, and I'm not sure we can access the trading post even, so I use what they give, and I'm running dagger, pistol and staff. So this setup is really useful. The pistol is probably the best weapon that you can use. I think it is even better than scepter, and with the dagger that will help us remove condition from ourselves to the enemy using this skill and an extra burst condition. It is probably the best offhand options that we can use. The staff, however, is way easier to even fill life force so fast, so we can have insane amount of life force generation, and the marks with fear and chill can help even with breaking defiance bar consistently. So it is really useful. I'm not sure I would use even scepter even if I had the choice. Like, the staff is already really good with this build, and the DPS is decent, like without anything, without anyone giving you even a stack of might or whatever, like just me like that, no help whatever, I can break or reach about 10k, around 10k DPS constantly. And like I said, my trinkets are celestial, and this was my armor is legendary, and my back and everything else is exotic they gave us. So when EOD release, I'll probably try it with tormenting rune if it's still as broken as it is, and torment sigil and earth sigil probably, and see how much damage I can actually get from this and how much healing. So the Harbinger, if you're not been out of the loop, if you just stream and stuff, have the life force degenerate in order to heal you, and it heal you for about like what it takes from here giving you, I'm not exactly sure, but I'm running a trade that make it heal for insanely more number, which is Vital Persistence, 20% extra healing. So in my full health, I would heal about 940, something like that, per second. So it's insane amount of healing, which I even have more healing because I'm running Parasitic Contingent, which turn 10% of my condition damage into healing, and I can be doing a lot of damage and spreading condition everywhere, which incredibly easy, not only because of the cleave or something, because the cleave potential is not that great on the Harbinger, but because of this trait also. 3 stacks of torment keep bolting around me to every target around me, and it will count in Parasitic Contingent. And keep in mind that you can heal in and out of Shroud. I'm also running staff, so I can get some regeneration from this skill, and I can get regeneration from this skill, and I can turn condition into healing because of this skill. So I have a lot of healing and even a lot of protection access. So every time I go to Shroud, I have more than 4 seconds of protection because of this trait, External Life, and I can have protection also from Spectral Armor, and I can have protection from the Elite Elixir of Ambition. So let's get into the details. What is my choices? I go with Curses, Soul Reaping and Harbinger. For Curses, we get critical chance, giving us a chance of bleed. 33% of our critical hits will trigger bleed, and bleed duration is increased by 20%. We get Fury every time we enter Shroud, and it is for 12 seconds, so it's really decent. You will have Fury for most of the time, and you already having 44% of critical chance. Once you enter, it's 64, so really decent amount of life of critical chance. And we gain critical chance increase 2% for every condition on Fu. And since we have bleed and torment and poison probably constant, sometimes chill, fear or blind, stuff like that, so we break in 70% so easy. We hit critical a lot, and it will help with our power damage since we have an extra ferocity too, and a lot of power even. And our choices, I go with the trait that giving you a stack of torment on your enemy every time you disable them, basically because the other choices are not great. Condition transfer is not needed. We have a lot of condition transfers anyway, and condition cleanse. You can also go with chill on blind, that will trigger only on this skill, but will help even more with defiance bar break, but I never needed it, so the more DPS looked better. And since we fighting in PvE, we don't care that much about corrupting boons, but I guess if you're in a place that have a lot of boon application, like the early BOF maps, maybe you can run it. And we don't use fear at all, like this is the only fear source we have, so it's not really that relevant. I'm running with corruption because it will help with increasing my damage here and giving me more heals from here on 20-second cooldown only. And we already talked about parasitic contingents that given us 10% of all our condition damage turned to healing all the time, which is insanely great. I know it is tempting to go with this trait because of the extra condition damage, but I find my damage to be sufficient enough. I can already kill legendaries, no problem. For soul reaping, which is a must for PvE, we get amount of life force from all sources increased by 10%, and shroud skills reduce recharge by 15%. This skill on a 3-second cooldown, basically. The CC on 8 and 17, the mobility on 4, it is just insanely powerful to have. And the maximum life force is increased by 20%, and guess what? Our life force not only for damage, it also heals us, so it is just beautiful. And this trait is really efficient because it works with staff, since we choose soul marks, 3% life force and unblockable staff skills. The increased 20% healing that actually work even on the healing from life force itself and extra vitality. With this trait we have basically 540 vitality, which means 5k 400 just from those two traits, this one and this one. And for that one I go eternal life, which make me generate 3% life force every second as long as I'm lower than 66%, which make me can spend a lot of life force and just keep bumping up a lot of life force so easily in PvE, and giving me extra protection source. You can increase your damage a bit using either of those traits, but I found the life force to be draining way more than it should, comparing to healing and how you can gain life force. It just didn't feel worth it. I like this trait the best, and as I said, this build already can bump up about 10k without a single boon from any source or anything, as it is, just like that, with exotics. Like half my gear is exotic. Now for Harbinger itself, the first trait is telling us about the Harbinger basically and the blight mechanic, and the second trait we already told you it is vitality, more vitality, and this one is beautiful. It's every time we enter Shroud we gain 15% life force, and it works even if our Shroud is absolutely zero, so you can always access your Shroud, which work greatly even in competitive because you want to kite and stuff like that. Now for our choices I go full Condi. The first trait given us increased 1% damage to our condition for every stack of blight on us, up to maximum of 25 blight, so 25% condition damage, and it makes skill 2 for the Shroud giving us poison instead of only torment, poison and torment. And the second one lowers the recharge of pistol skills, so as you see this one 4 seconds 3/4 and this one 9 seconds and a half, and given us 30% of our vitality as expertise, which we have a lot of because we're running already Celestial and we're running the vitality traits, both of them, the Harbinger was minor, not an option, and this one. And lastly we have Pulsing Torment and weakness around us and extra condition damage on 3-second interval. It have an animation that you can see here, this like glow, like wave that you see is from this trait actually, so you can already see it and see the radius of it. It is more radius, about 180, which I'm not sure it is actually just, it feel a little bit bigger, at least the animation, but it is great as it is. Now for our skills, I run Consume Condition because I want to have a lot of survivability against condition, and I'm running Spectral Walk again against condition and Swiftness Source, and work like a double stun break. If you get CC again you can go back simply like that, and giving you life force from them. Spectral Armor to defend ourselves and build insane life force while being hitted a lot, and on a 30-second cooldown only, and more than 12-second protection because of the Celestial gear. Concentration is high. And Blood is Power as a source of might, conditions that we can give to our enemy, and condition already applied to the enemy. 4 stacks to the enemy, 2 stacks of bleed on us, and torment that you can give to the enemy with your dagger or with your staff, or you can consume with your Spectral Walk, or even to heal more with consume condition, like it's up to you. you can always get rid of them however you feel the situation needed to be. And it's not only for you, it's for people around you. As you see this ring, you can give might to other people too. Now the elite is really strong in PvE, way more strong than you would expect it in World vs. World, for example. In PvE it is just beautiful. You can obviously increase your damage with using something like Blade Land to have insane amount of damage. You will even break the amount of DPS I told you would have, obviously, especially if you're running with other people, like once AOD release and you're going technically DPS, people will be giving you might and quickness and stuff in meta events and stuff like that. You can run Blade Land, which only on 60-second cooldown, so it is basically the same, and it do insane amount of condition. So it is up to you, but I was running with Elixir of Ambition just to have a taste from something new and to have some blight. Since the only source of blight I have on this build is staying inside my shroud. But this skill giving me some blight, so it is decent to increase your damage overall by 10%. So that's it basically for the video. The build is really easy to play. I will tell you some few notes about it. The CC on this build come from skill 3 on pistol, skill 3 and 5 on staff, and skill 4 and 5 on shroud, which is basically how you end the Defiance bar. And this one is to engage. Other than that, never use it. The torment is kinda low, is really low, so you only be using 1 and 2. Those two skills only are what you're gonna use inside shroud, and be in melee range. Do not be at range to trigger this on everything around you. It is insane source of damage, so try to always be at melee inside shroud and then range outside of shroud. Just like you're using Reaper or something like that, when you melee in shroud, like my best build for Reaper, you melee in shroud and range outside of shroud. This basically works the same, even so it's actually vulnerable in shroud. But even if you lose a lot of health, you just leave, you can have protection, refill life force so fast by some mobs clipping you with a little bit of hits, and immediately start regenerating your life, your health, just by life force. So that's it for the video. I hope you like it and give this build a try. Tell me your feedback, and I'll be seeing you next time. Peace.